So far so good, guys. I might have to change threads before I get to the end. If I do, I could film that maybe and show you how I add thread. I also may have to add a few beads at this end, hence why I leave a nice long tail. Because what I'll do is when I've finished the pattern entirely, I'll measure it, and depending on whether it's the right size, I may add an extra couple of rows at each end if it's not long enough. So yeah, that's so far so good. And a little view of the lovely fire still roaring. Look at that, it's very cozy sitting here beading. So yeah, that's it so far, making progress. Nearly there. So yeah, soon be time to show you how I do the ends, and maybe have to change thread, we'll see. Okay, so I've come to the end of my thread and I've just left a tail like this. Now you can leave the tail and weave it back through these beads, or you can incorporate it in this, which I'm going to do. I'm going to do that for a few rows, and then I'm going to leave it loose, and then I'll weave it in a little bit later, just give it that extra kind of security that it's not going to come undone, just, you know, one little knot. So if you want to do it like that, if not, leave your tail end hanging out, and I'll show you how to tie it in when we get there. So either way, if you're going to do this method, just leave it on there until you're ready to take it off. If you're going to do the method of leaving your tail hanging out, you still have to take that end and weave it through the beads and do some little knots in here. So I'll show you how to do that when we get there. But for now, I'm just going to add that tail thread over here and pop my beads in as usual, like so. I'm a bit of a perfectionist. I like things to be really, let's say, neatly finished. A nice, neat finish, you know, no bits and bobs sticking out the ends or the edges, you know, knots and things like that. I don't like that. I don't like to see knots. So that's why I'm trying to incorporate that little bit in the end, just to help me out with that. It's a bit fiddly just to get it in there that first time. Make sure you catch that thread. Try and get it a bit tighter. If I can pull it, that's it. And then pop all your beads into place. They're not all in place, are they? No wonder I'm having problems. There we go. Oh. Alright. Need to use this finger. This one's somewhat bent, so you might want to use your index finger, but I find this one easier. I don't have a lot of strength in my index finger because of the arthritis, so I can't put force with this one. But it's probably easier for you to use your index finger. Right, same again, go through here and leave a nice substantial tail like this, because this end I'm going to weave back in this way. And then that way you've got no knots on the outside, no loose tails, and it's nice and strong. You know, your piece is not going to come undone, it's not going to break. You know, your little knots aren't going to come unthreaded because you work them back into your ends, back into your work. So I'll show you how to work the ends back in, but basically adding the thread is pretty easy. So just keep going through the tops of your beads like you normally would. Except I'm not close enough to my work to see it, so I hope I'm going through the top of my beads. And then pop those tips a bit there. Nope, it's not going in, is it? Hang on, that's it. And through the last one, there we go. I have to try and juggle my camera because it wobbles. Right, then pull through. And pull that nice and tight. And because I've pulled that end up through here, when I pull tight, it's not sliding back through the other way, which is why I like to do it this way as well. So I'll just do that for a couple of rows, and then I'll take this bit off and leave it hanging as a tail like the other one, and then we'll sew them in. Okay, so I think this could be just the last row before we take that thread out, so I'll show you one more row. Without tangling up the other tail thread. Give that a pinch, and then through those beads. Again, it's hard to see when you're filming. That's why I brought it out in the kitchen to film this bit, because it's easier to get the beading further away from me with enough light to actually film it. I sit with this on my lap by the fire, so I can't really film on my lap. So I came in the kitchen to show you. So I'll go through this one more row and out. And now you can see that tail end is far away from this tail end. So now I'm going to leave that out. And I'm still going to sew it in at the end, but pull it out down the way, pull both of them out. Well, you can put them over the end of your bead loom if you want to just keep them somewhere secure. I like to, you know, pass it through one of those little slats and just hold it out the way like that, and they're not in your way. So right, then continue to the end. When we get to the end, I'm going to tie off these ends and attach my clasp and sew in these. Oh, looks like it's frayed. Shouldn't fray, it's dragon thread. Anyway, I'm going to sew in the ends, yeah. And yeah, it's frayed, look at that. We've got to sew it in. So yeah, sew in the ends, put the clasps on, and then we're finished. Sorry guys, you couldn't see what I was saying because I was close up. What I meant about the tail threads was I've actually passed them underneath this side of the work now, and then just posted them over here. I haven't tied them or anything, I've just, you know, put them through, because with two tail ends hanging out here, it would be very easy to catch them in your working thread and weave them into your piece, which would not be good. So yeah, that's what I meant by that. So I'll catch you back at the end when we're ready to tie off all these threads, weave in those tails, tie off these, weave in these, and put our slide clasps on. Sorry, my dog is desperate to get in the action. Look. Say hello then. There we go. Sitting by the fire with the crazy beast. You're not beading. No, look, he wants to bead. All right, thank you. That's enough. Out we come. So yeah, meet you back at the end, ready for the clasping and the knots, so I can keep the dog out the beads. Stop it, you. So I've gone ahead and got to the end. I did add 2 extra rows on the end here. So I'm going to take this off the needle, and I'm going to use my big eye needle to do my knots. So, right, that's my tail thread coming out. And I'm going to go back in to the row above. It's not very short. There we go. Back into the row above, like so. And then I'm going to catch one of those passing threads that's between the... I have to do it from this side actually. Yeah, because I can't see in the light the other way. Right, so you want to get one of the little threads that's in between the beads and catch that up. There, like that. So it's not between a bead, it's just between the threads. Like so. And then I'm going to do a little knot, pass through that loop once, and I'm going to pass through it twice. That's called a surgeon's knot. All the other knots I do, I'll just pass through once, but that one I want it nice and strong. Give it a tug, a nice strong tug, and then we're going to pass on through some more beads. Oh shoot, sorry about that. Camera going everywhere. And then pass through some more beads. As you pass through these beads, give it a little tug, and that will pull the knot that you've just made inside the beads. There you go, did you see that knot disappear inside the beads? So then we'll go up the next row, making sure we stay on top of our threads again, don't forget, and maybe get up to there, and the same again. We're going to go through that little thread That's between the beads, says she. It's really trying to do it on camera, to be fair. It's much easier when it's sitting on my lap. Nope, it didn't go through again. Keep missing that bead. I mean that thread. There we go, through the thread. Through that loop. Give it a gentle, kind of gentle but firm, if that makes sense, tug. Don't want to distort your beadwork. And then continue through the beads. And you can go up and down like this several times. This time I'm not going to go to the edge. I'm doing as many knots as you see fit. But I think surgeon's knot and one knot should be fine, especially if we weave up through a little bit. I'm not going quite to the edge because it's more secure doing it this way. And then back up through here. Really, I'm just trying to get my thread away from my knots. Don't want to cut anywhere near my knots. Pull that tight. Take a pair of scissors and snippy snip. And go, and I'm going to take my big eye needle and do exactly the same thing with this loose tail here. That was, where are we? This one here. I've taken one of the working threads that was here and worked it in already, and this is the other one that looked a bit frayed. So it was a bit frayed, so I went over it with my wax just to smooth it off a bit. But we're going to do exactly the same thing as we've just done there. Going to go in through this row, bring it up between some beads, and then hook up that thread that goes between the beads. I'm going to come around the other side because of the light. Oops, now I've got to here, don't get tangled on your loom. Especially if it's wooden, because they are a bit more rough, the wooden ones, so they can catch, you know. And do a little knot here. You don't have to do a surgeon's knot if you don't feel confident to do the 2 knots, because sometimes when you do that double knot, it can tangle, so you do have to be careful. But you can easily just as well go through your beads. Oh, I can't get hold of it now, I can't see it. Come on, thread out the way. Pass through some more beads, like so. You don't have to go to the ends. In fact, I think it's better not to go to the ends always. And then back up through these row, being very mindful, of course, to stay on top of your base thread. It's very fiddly and really hard. Hats off to people who are sort of permanently making tutorials, because beading on camera is really not easy. And some ladies do, I can't see it really. Some ladies do entire pieces all on film, which is amazing. So I struggle though with my bendy arthritic hands, but still I do manage. But that's why I don't do a lot of tutorials, because I'm probably slower and more awkward than some people with their beading, due to the fact that I do have arthritis, so it doesn't make things any easier. But I think it's all good exercise for my hands, so just keep going. Keep beading up. Fiddly finishing off tasks, but it's worth putting the time and effort into doing this properly. because it means your piece is going to be super secure. You know, it's not going to come undone, and all that effort you've put in is not going to go to waste. That's the last thing you want, is to have your work come undone when you've worked so hard. Oh, I've worked so hard, I know that. And then maybe throw a couple more beads. And now we've done several knots in there, I'm happy that that's nice and woven in. And then snip that one off. So now let's zoom out a little bit. That is it, finished. All I've got to do now is tie the knots, which maybe we'll do a couple now. Can we zoom in? I'm going to do it on the loom just to show you. I'm going to snip this one. Oh, wrong one. Is it? Yes, it is the wrong one. Such a donut. Right, take this end one, and then I'm going to tie it through this next one. Poke it up and through there, and tie a knot. And I'm going to take the next one, loosen this one. I didn't mean to. I'll wobble the camera again as well. Goodness me. Right, then I'm going to take this thread, second one, up through there. I mean, you can take this off the loom and do it, but I prefer to leave it on, because I think you can get it nice and tight like that. So, and then we're going to take the next one, which I've already accidentally cut, and up through this one. Like so. Get those knots nice and tight. We can take this one and tie it through this next one. Just going to keep going like this until you've got little knots all the way along like that, look. Just one more. And take this next one, put it on through here. And through that loop. And tie that in a knot. And take the next one. Cloud just came over. Did you see the light change? Through that one and pull tight. So now you can see the little row of knots we've got here, like so. And keep going. I find if you take it off the loom, it's a bit fiddly, it all flops around, and so if you leave it on the loom like that, and just keep going, cut your next one, this one, and thread it around that one, tie, keep tying, keep tying, keep tying till you get to the end. And then go to the other end of your loom and do exactly the same thing. And then I'll show you what we do after that. I'm back upstairs because the light has gone now, and it's getting dark, so I've had to come up under this horrible bright light, which I don't like, but needs must. So I've finished, I've tied all my knots, as you can see. Oh, done it again, keep bashing this. I need a different stand for my camera. This one is just too bouncy. So you can see where the knots are. I'll really do that one at the end, it looks a bit loose. Right, once they're all done, Glue on my finger now. Right, take a bit of glue, stick it on whatever, anything. I've just used a piece of card, and I'm going to put a tiny amount of glue on these knots, just to be super safe and know that no threads can come loose inside your bracelet. Doesn't matter if you spill over onto this first row, because that's going inside your clasp, so just want to really get it in between these threads, because I don't want it to have any chance of unravelling even inside the clasp, you know. Jewellery bracelet takes wear and tear on the wrist, so yeah, leave that and like that, and then go down and do the same on the other end without wobbling your wobbly camera. I just use a toothpick because it's easier, much less chance of overdoing it, accidentally over putting too much on if you use the end of your glue. Even then with a toothpick, look at that, it's come out quite thick. That's what I want, a line. Excellent. And then try and get it in between the threads like that. And like I said, it doesn't matter if it goes on that first bead row, because that's going inside your clasp, the slidey bar thing. Make sure we get that end knot right. That's very sticky. Getting all glued up here. And do the same again, just give it a little bit extra with that fresher glue. I just want to really, that's it, get it up and under there in those threads. Right. Oops. Although we don't want too much, because I've got to cut those threads off. And I don't think I'll use my good scissors for that. Right, just give that a moment to sort of go off a little bit. Right, so once you've got your glue done, you're going to want to take these ends off nice and close. Rubbish scissors. I don't want to use my good ones. And then these are my gluey scissors. I always use these for anything that's got glue on it, because I need my scissors that I use for beading to stay super sharp. Right, just get rid of all these ends. And now you're left with that. Then we're going to take our slide end. Slide ends. These are the only ones that I've got that are going to fit this, really. I should have gone a size smaller, but I've either got one that's too small. Why is this one going to fit? Hang on. Should have tapered that last row. If I tapered it off, I probably could have got away with that one. Well, maybe I could. Maybe it would fit. Let's give that a try. It can only not go on. That's the worst thing that can happen. Okay, so now we're going to open this up. You might want your pliers. Go ahead and open that right up like that. hopefully it's all going to fit in. Right, and take that over your first row of beads like so, and push, and technically it should just slide on. I've got quite a lot of thread in there, and I'm hoping that will catch with the glue. There you go, that will just go in. It's a bit tight, but that goes in. Right, and then to close it, I'm going to actually bend it over a tiny bit first. Bend it over a little bit like that. And to finish it, make sure there's no end sticking out. Just put it down on your surface and push, and that will close it. Just like so. There we go. That's one. Ah, they do fit good. I didn't want to have to use the ones that were too big because they'd be not right. Excellent. So it does fit. Perfect, perfect. And the second one, maybe I should have, oh gosh, I keep doing that. Zoom in a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. Take your slide end cap. That's what they're called, slide end caps, I think. Oh goodness me, this stupid wobbly thing. Sorry guys. Right, try and get these down, and then get this over your first row of beads. Once you get it on, it should, that's it, slide, just like so. How simple is that? There we go. And if you have got any ends sticking out like this, just get a, sorry, I'm looking for a needle. Not the, oh there you go, not the beading needle obviously, because they're quite fine, just a thicker normal sewing needle. Make sure all your threads have gone in like that, because you don't want anything poking out after the end and you're going to have to cut it off. So let's get that bead in. Last one. There we go. And then pop this down a little bit. And oops, my beads come out now. And then my bead came out. No worries, no worries. Open it back up. It is a little tight. There we go. I wobbled again. I have, haven't I? Sorry guys. Keep wobbling the camera. Make sure those threads are in, as well as the bead. And bend it over just back to where it was before you opened it really. And then push down, nice and hard, and voila. There we go. Now I've just got to add some jump rings and a clasp. Not nasty bright neon light really makes the threads show through like that, but they don't really show when it's not that horrid light. Okay, so I've finished. I've added a little hoop on one end and on the other end a little lobster clasp. I'm very pleased with that. Completely finished. No mistakes this time. The only thing I will say is I've used silk for this, for the weft thread, the base thread. And you can slightly see that, look. Depends on the angle, if it's at that angle. I don't know if it's because of the artificial light. Maybe in the daylight it won't be so bad. It didn't seem to look like that, but yeah, maybe I should stick with the cotton, because this one I made with cotton, and it doesn't seem to matter what angle you put it. You know, you can't see the weft thread there. Because on this one you can, look. It's quite a difference, isn't it, between the cotton. This one's cotton. I think it was the seal-on thread, yeah, I used the blue one. And this one is slightly thicker silk that I wove with. But either way, I'm pleased with both of them. That's it, finished. Thanks for watching, guys. That's how I do my weaving. That's my first attempt. It's not too bad for a first try. And my second attempt, which I'm very pleased with. It's nice and neat, no mistakes. But like I say, you can see that weft thread very slightly, depending on the angle. So, yeah, very, very happy with that.